Take a look at these very first shots from Totoro and pay attention to how they're sequenced. We go from a wide to a medium to a close-up, strictly in that order. We have our wide to start defining the landscape and setting of the film, and the medium to focus our attention on the main characters. And our close-up allows us to enter the character's subjective world and start getting to know them. Now, in no way am I saying that Studio Ghibli invented the wide, medium, close-up shot sequence, nor did Ghibli define the function of these shots, but it serves as a reminder of the effectiveness and efficiency that the simplicity in Ghibli's cinematography provides. For my entire life, Studio Ghibli has kind of been this North Star for my love of film. And as I'm growing older and getting a little more experience and knowledge, I've started to see the common threads that connect these films, not just narratively, but visually. Everyone knows how stunning these films are, but I'm interested in the principles that these films use to achieve the level of visual splendor that they do, and how it can be translated from animation to different mediums. I opened this video with Totoro's opening for a reason, because it perfectly exemplifies Ghibli's simplistic style, which is one of the keys to how they convey emotion and character and plot so effectively. Beyond the minimalism of the shot sequencing in Ghibli films, there is also a sense of reservedness in how these shots are framed. And don't get me wrong, this doesn't mean that these shots are uninteresting or boring. I just characterize them as naturalistic. Like these shots in Spirited Away. We can see here how Ghibli stays with the character. The camera is almost always attached to objects within the world, or following the subject in a way that makes us discover the world with them, rather than on our own. And in the cases where the subject is not in the shot, we see the world in a very grounded manner, as if it was through their own eyes. These conscious choices that Ghibli makes ensures a strong and balanced composition every time, rather than opting for complex camera moves or angles just for the sake of it. And I'd say my favorite aspect of Studio Ghibli's simplistic cinematography is stillness. This tendency to keep the camera still imbues so many moments in Ghibli with this relaxing, serene feeling that allows what is in the frame to speak for itself. This confidence in using stationary shots goes hand in hand with Ghibli's trust of the audience. Ghibli films aren't aiming to constantly stimulate you. They aim to genuinely immerse you within the world and observe these beautiful places and moments and characters slowly and deliberately. A lot of the time, simplicity is a virtue and not something to be ashamed of, and Studio Ghibli knows this better than anyone. Another aspect of Ghibli's cinematography that is super important is layering. So take a look at this shot here, also from Totoro. Not only do we have a foreground and a background, but we also seem to have a midground too. These layers that I'm pointing out are what adds depth to these images, and what makes the frame interesting. There's just always something to look at. There are side stories in every frame, and we subconsciously ask what the lives of the farmers are like in the background, or why Sasuke's home is decorated how it is. Layering is a tool that Ghibli uses to make these shots more engaging, but also just more immersive. It's a huge factor in how these worlds feel alive. This is something that I really try to apply to my own cinematography. When you're someone like me who has relatively little experience and knowledge and access to locations and equipment, you can often find yourself shooting right against a white wall. But using Ghibli's principle of layering, I know that it's my responsibility to make that white wall tell a story, even if it's just adding a lamp or a painting. No matter what, it's always possible to make a boring location or setup less boring. And Studio Ghibli gives us a masterclass in that. So this is me in my normal YouTube set. Everything is decorated right now, and this is what it looks like when I don't dress it up at all. It's a lot blander, as you can tell. But when I start adding different trinkets or plants or light sources, it takes on a whole new life and becomes something so much more interesting. So to summarize, Ghibli's tendency to layer shots to such a high degree adds both a visual richness and a narrative one. There is so much depth and so many minute details within these images that as the audience we can create these mini stories to build our own world on top of the one that Ghibli has already created for us. And the last aspect of Ghibli's cinematography that I want to talk about is something that I'm going to call the nothing shot. Ghibli films have a tendency to present us with shots like these, or these, or these. And these shots are kind of strange because they're not necessarily establishing shots, as they really aren't orienting the audience within the scene. And I'd also argue that they're not insert shots because they're not hyper-focusing on something that's within an actual scene. And previously in the video, I've talked about how Ghibli's compositions can add to the film narratively. but these shots add absolutely nothing narratively. If the film didn't have them, the stories would play out exactly the same. But its function is somehow still so important. These shots that I'm calling nothing shots further our understanding and connection to the world. They are moments where we can just feel the location and we can feel the time of day. We don't have to be told anything. These are moments where we're not watching a story unfold, but rather we are within the setting as if we were characters in the world. And really, what could be more engaging than that? I think it's important to remember that filmmaking and cinematography is not mathematical. There is no formula to pump out a perfect movie, and there is no visual trick or secret that will automatically make your movie good. If there was a filmmaking formula, shots like these would not be a part of it. If you had a shot like this in your film, I think a lot of people would tell you to take it out because it doesn't add to the story or it messes with the pacing or anything like that. Because again, if these shots were taken out of the film, nothing would change and the stories would still be great. But these shots are here, and just because they don't have to be, doesn't mean they shouldn't. Ghibli's nothing shots are what allowed me as a kid to live in these worlds for just a few hours. So when you're working on a project, remember to take in your surroundings and think about what object or moment or landscape would draw your audience further into the story world, even if it's not necessary to the plot. You don't just have to be a camera person, you can be a storyteller. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been in my Ghibli phase this summer, so I really wanted to share what I've learned from those films visually and how I plan to apply that to my own filmmaking. So yeah, more videos will be coming out very soon. So again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.